What's up, guys? We got a 98 Jeep, and yeah, we're trying to replace this rear track bar. Goes from here, and that axle mount, all the way up to here. I don't think we'll have any problems getting this guy out. The bushing is just blown right out. I don't think we can get an impact on here. Maybe not. We'll see. But we can get torches in there easily. It's just so rusty, so rusty. All right. So here is our Torx. I think that's a T55, but it's all rusted out. I'm gonna have to tap this in to get it in, but I don't even have a finger's worth of clearance between the gas tank. So what I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna come from this side. I'm not sure. If we come from this side, we have to break the tab off. Or we have to move the gas tank out of the way. So I think I'd rather break that tab off, because this bar, to get that out of the way, you just got 2 bolts. This one's welded to the frame underneath there. So we just gotta zip this out with our impact, zip this bolt out, and then we'll have clearance right down to the nut end of that bolt holding the track bar in. I think that's what I'm gonna do. All right, we got our trailing arm off right there. Take a look. We can see our nut right there, and it's so rotted out, it doesn't have any points left on it, barely. No socket will fit on it. So now I gotta figure out what I wanna do. I had to take this little bracket off. It holds down the brake hose and the e-brake. If I could, I would just heat that up, put a socket on it, spin it off. With the heat, this tab would break off, or I can cut the tab off right there. Zip that nut out, hammer the bolt through. Even if I did that, the bolt might hit the gas tank and not want to come out. I'm not sure on the length, but yeah, I almost just want to chop this head off and pound it through and put a new bolt through. I don't really want to do any torching right next to this gas tank, especially with this cover. I think that's metal. So I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do here. All right, guys, here we go. I've melted the tip of that stud off, and yeah, then I hit it with my air chisel, long skinny bit, and it started to come out. See, we got a little gap going. I need to torch it a little bit more to get the stud to break free from the nut all the way. But we're almost there. Now, if you don't have anything to cut this off with, I mean, and it's as rusty as this one where the bolt was seized in, the nut on the other end was rotted off. Then to get to that one, you're probably gonna have to take your fuel tank down, or you could take like a angle grinder and chop the head of this off and try to pound it out, but you don't really get much of an angle without an air chisel that's bent. So I mean, do what you gotta do. You might have to take the gas tank down. There's bolts going down the front and the rear. There's one missing right there. To take this cover off, this metal cover. So if you have to, take the gas tank down. If your vehicle's nice and clean, you can get into that bolt with a bent Torx, kind of like an Allen, kind of like those right there. But this one, there's no way I was gonna get that bolt free with how rusted it was, the way it was. So you gotta kind of pick your path here. You wanna, if that nut was able to get impact on, I would have just zipped it right there, but couldn't get a socket on it. It was rotted out. Multiple different ways to get this bolt out, just depending on how seized your bolt is, how rusty it is it rusted out. Pick one of them paths. Now I'm gonna heat this back up and get it the rest of the way out. All right, here's the new track bar. You can see there's metal, bushing, and then metal. The bolt likes to seize on the inside of this metal, and that's what makes it hard to get out. We got that bolt that far out. It'll come the rest of the way. I just wanted to show you. See, I got my my air chisel right there, pushing it through. So one more little tap and it'll fall out of there. All right, we're on to the passenger side here. 15 millimeter on this side. I had to clean off these nuts just to get the right socket size to fit on them. The 18 millimeter on this side. And don't really have room for an impact to go back off of this nut, so we're gonna have to use a ratchet, and it's in there. It's not going nowhere. It's seized right to the inside bushing on this one too. So I'm gonna start off with heating this nut up on this side, get this nice and hot, and see if she'll come out. All right, I got that bolt to start backing out right there. I heated up the nut and loosened the nut all the way to the end so the nut was flush with the bolt. And then I started spinning this. I realized that inside metal bushing was spinning with it, so it wasn't backing out at all. I took my air chisel. You know, it was heated up. And I put my air chisel right in between the spring here, like so, and hit the end of that nut where it's flushed with the bolt, and it started backing out. Kind of like that. I can't really do it with one hand very well. But anyways, and it started coming out. So now I sprayed it down with PB Blaster in there. I'm gonna start spinning that 15 millimeter head and hopefully get it to come out. I might have to replace this bolt too. All right, guys, she's out of there. See that? Put an 18 millimeter on one side, ratcheting wrench on the other. It was a little tight at first, and just kept spinning it out. It spun out. I kept on loosening the bolt head side. Check out this spider. He's crawling down right in front of me. What's up, dude? How you doing? And then when it was almost all the way out, I just gave it a little tap with my air chisel. And then it was wedged in there, so I took my little pry bar, boom, popped her out. Now comes the easy part of the job, putting everything back together. The hard part was getting seized bolts out. And you'll run into that, especially if you're like in Michigan, salt on the roads, that kind of stuff. You'll run into it. So I'm gonna grab this bar out and put my new one in, find some new bolts in my bucket of bolts that are the same size. All right, I would say this is tricky, but it's not. So you're gonna wanna get this in lined up first. So get her lined up and give it a couple hammer smacks from this end to press it into its groove, into the hole, line up the holes. Use a little screwdriver to line them up. So I already got that bolt through with the nut and a washer on the other end, but I don't have it tight. That was a M12 bolt that I had to replace that with. This bolt was still good. I had to replace the nut. So after you get that bolt lined up, you're gonna wanna jack up your axle on this side, driver's side, to make it reach over here. You can see I almost got her lined up. Might have to jack it up a little more or just pry it forward. Then I can get that bolt through. All right, we got that bolt through. It's a little tricky. I got it started through this side first, and it was offset on this side. Didn't want to come through. I had to raise up the axle a little more back there and put a pry bar in here and kind of press down because it was a little too high and it was a little cockeyed. But with a flashlight right here, I was looking down the hole, waiting for it to line up, got her lined up. Now, we can tighten up our nuts on this guy and on this guy, get those tightened up. And then we'll be able to throw this bar back in here. That one that we took out so we could access that nut. And we'll hook that e-brake brake hose back up. Perfect. And I don't think I mentioned, but there's a little plastic cover right there that goes on there with some Christmas trees. These ones were rusted in. I don't even think I'm gonna put that plastic cover back on. That should about wrap up the job though. Tighten those up real tight. Tighten up these real tight. And there you go.